How old were you think, when you thought, I'd like to study physics?
Probably a teenager, I think.
So well before you entered university.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then you went to Cambridge, and you did a natural sciences degree, which has a lot of different directions, but you continued in physics. Yeah.
I think the undergraduate course in Cambridge, because it's a very broad course, and I'm very glad I did that now. It's very good to have that range of things. But I think they designed their first year course to put people off physics,
Okay.
because lots of people go into that university course wanting to do physics, and at the end of the first year many of them are scared off and go off into other very fascinating things like geology, crystalline materials, biology of cells, things like that. But I was one of the true believers, kept with physics right the way through.
And then you did your PhD. What did you do your PhD on?
So I worked on thin film magnetism, and in particular I was involved with a project to understand how neutrons bounce off magnetic films. This was just after an effect called giant magnetoresistance had been discovered, which is at the basis of the sensors that they use in hard disks. And one of the issues was to understand how the magnetic moments in these different magnetic layers were aligned, and one way you can do that is using neutrons. So I was involved in working out how to do that and doing some of those early studies.
And then you moved from there to Oxford as a postdoc.
That's right.
And then also as a junior research fellow. Tell us a bit about that move.
So while I was a graduate student, I ended up doing some work in the High Magnetic Field Laboratory in Nijmegen in Holland. And there I met somebody, a chap called John Singleton, who became a lecturer in Oxford. So when I was looking to see what to do after my PhD, even though I was in Cambridge, and I think at that stage of my career I thought Cambridge was the centre of the universe and had no wish to go anywhere else, I thought, well, actually Oxford is an interesting possibility. I also applied to a number of other things, but Oxford was the one that came off.
Maybe Oxford wasn't so bad after all.
No, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And then, and at what point, then you stayed on, eventually you became a lecturer here, and then a reader, and then a professor. At what point in that sequence did you think, I'm going to be an academic?
Well, I think while I was a student, I did think that to be an academic and to spend my career working in physics would be a great thing to do. But I also thought it was probably very unlikely, just because when you're an undergraduate, there's only a certain percentage of people who can stay on to do a doctorate. And of those, a certain smaller percentage can stay on to be a postdoc, and to get an academic job seemed to be, too much to hope for. So I think at every stage I was I've kind of been continually surprised, actually, that I've managed to, at each stage it's worked out.